Welcome to the age of technology. Silly fools, put their money on a pedestal. Cynical minds really out and looking pitiful. City full of lies, realize that you're pretty fool. There ain't no prize with your life, it's simply a tool for ultimate control. They say you're minuscule, work until you're old, and then you're ridiculed. Ain't a facet of your life it won't get into. Can't address the masses cause it matters who you send it to. Said it is a fact, you react and defend it. It all depends if they pay a penny for your pencil. A million pens written, many a premise, many a scheme. A waking dream molding you into a fitting thing. Said it feels like a waking dream molding you into a fitting thing. Welcome to the matrix, come become basic. Come marinate with our state of stasis. Call your desire to stray from my ways, and some may say wrong, but face it, the face will come. To the matrix, come become basic. Come and relate with our state of stasis. Call your desire to stray from my ways, and some may say wrong, but face it, the face win. Artifice and intellect are imposed to interact. Market as the birth of the Armageddon starter pack. Solid state artifact, should've stayed more intact. Unity and human ingenuity up on the rack. Anger from the things you lack. Stranger fiction, now a fact. Couldn't really tell if a human is behind the track. All done had a heart attack. Money started all of that. So now we bow down to some oligarchic autocrats. Sell a soul for half a stack. Sell a name for half of that. Sell it, but you never finna get it back. Sell a soul for half a stack. Sell a name for half of that. Sell it, but you never finna get it back. Welcome to the matrix, come become basic. Come and relate with our state of stasis. Call your desire to stray from my ways, and some may say wrong, but face it, the face will come. To the matrix, come become basic. Come and relate with our state of stasis. Call your desire to stray from my ways, and some may say wrong, but face it, the face win. What dreams may come, what dreams may come, for invincible what dreams may come. What dreams may come. Welcome to the matrix, come become basic. Come and relate with our state of stasis. Call your desire to stray from my ways, and some may say wrong, but face it, the face will come. To the matrix, come become basic. Come and relate with our state of stasis. Call your desire to stray from my ways, and some may say wrong, but face it, the face win. What dreams may come, what dreams may come.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be in this beautiful, awakening, transformative planet of ours. This is Metaphysical Meetup with Marc Live here on my Intuitive Prospector Facebook page and other group pages that you may be following: Soul Adventures, Spiritual Beings Having Human Experiences, my podcast platform, Inspired Living Podcast. So you may be getting this through a couple different channels, but I'm your host, Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, here on Fridays at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to explore, to dream, to discover, to have conversations that make us think, about our journey here, our life, our pain, our joy, the awakening, the spiritual pathways, the transformation, the healing, the ascension, the change in your alchemy, extra dimensional beings, Bigfoot, intuition, all that stuff that you may be curious about. That's what I do. And maybe you're not curious about it. Maybe you're just starting down this path like what I did back in, it would have been 2008, I believe, when my spiritual journey through just severe grief and trauma and tragedies really changed my perspective, changed my mindset, changed how I saw things. And it really just kind of opened me up to start having these conversations about awakening, about psychic or mediumship or death and dying. What is the afterlife? What is heaven? These questions that we have and that we've been asking for many, many centuries. Are we alone in the universe? All these fun conversations that we have. And the song that I opened up with, so a lot of my shows, whether my podcast or these shows, they have copyright free, trademark free music, and I would promote the artist. This one was called, believe it or not, this one's called Welcome to the Matrix by Electric Music. It says featuring Lakan, Lakan, but it's called Welcome parentheses to the Matrix, because that's really what I want to talk about today. We are really living in a matrix style format, and I'll give you some scenarios to make you think. The smorgasbord that I lay out, or the buffet of information that I lay out, and then you decide if that fits your narrative, or maybe it doesn't fit your narrative. That's fine too. But it's the things that make you go, right? That's a song back in the 90s when I was growing up by the CNC Music Factory. I can't play it because that's not one of those trademark copyright free songs, but the song went, things that make you go, things that make you go, And, there's some things I've been thinking about, especially as we ring in the new year. So happy New Year. I brought our New Year's balloon from downstairs up as a backdrop because we do the polar plunge every year here in Seattle. We go to Alki and go to the Puget Sound. It's about 51 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's a great way to release the old of 2024 and then also allow the water to bring back your sparkle of 2025. 2025 is going to be a very interesting year. I'm doing my latest article. I'm writing about that. Because it's the year of the snake. It is the year of the 9 in numerology. So if you don't follow any of those tools, astrology, horoscopes, the snake is the Chinese New Year. So we're in the year of the snake, which from a spiritual standpoint is very spiritual in the fact that the snake is very wise, very slow to think about what it's doing. Sheds old skin so new skin can come forward. And I believe that's what 2025 is going to reveal to us. The year of completion and 9, that's what numerology 9 means. So just to explain it real quick, in our years, we measure numerology, which is about 11,000 years old as far back as I've done my research, as far back to Pythagoras' theorem. It's the cousin of music, because music is just a series of notes that are compiled to make music that we would understand as humans as music. And numerology, because those numbers play a significance in our journey, the 1 through 9, we start over. So it's like we're at the end of the year, we're in the year of 2025, the year of the 9, which means completion and transformation and transparency. And then we start over. So next year in 2026, this time, we'll be moving into the year of the 1 and starting anew. Now, what that also means is that, sorry, my next door neighbor's doing his lawn. It means that things are going to start to be revealed, and we're halfway through our roaring 20s of transformation. Okay, I talked about this in 2017, 2018, and 2019. Wrote about it, podcast about it. You can go back and listen to my shows if you like, or these shows on my YouTube channel. And I talked about how our roaring 20s were going to be a decade reflected in history as a great decade of transformation, chaos, awakening, institutions failing, and new institutions coming from the phoenix, the rise of the phoenix, if you will. But in the year of the snake, from a Chinese horoscope standpoint, the snakes represent wisdom and intelligence. That's what the snake usually represents. They're viewed as wise creatures, and they're believed to have a deep understanding of the world around them. So we're moving into this snake modality of understanding the world around us. A lot of people are really questioning status quo. People are questioning institutions. People are questioning their purpose here. Why am I here? Why am I on planet Earth? Why am I doing what I do as a job? Why am I married? Or why do I go through life with your partner or your friend or whatever that may be for you? And the mystery and the enigma of the snake is they tend to embody mystery, right? When you see a snake, some people don't like snakes. Snakes don't bother me. I'd rather take a snake versus a spider, which is funny because a spider would not harm me. The snake would, right? So I'm actually choosing something that could actually harm me. I mean, a spider, I guess, can bite you, but the spiders are not, they're just creepy, right? But I've overcome that fear. But at the same time, we look at snakes, they embody this mystery about them. And people that are born in the year of the snake are, maybe a few people. They seem to have they either be or tend to be complex or very intriguing individuals, right? Because that aligns to the snake's wisdom and mystery, and the elegance and grace of a snake, that the smooth movements that translate into the personality and the traits of those who fall under this sign. I'm the year of the rat. That's my Chinese horoscope. And just these people that are under the year of the snakes tend to be intriguing, complex, graceful, charming. But from a societal standpoint, what we're going to witness in the year of the snake, or the year of the nine, and I talked a little bit about this last week on last week's show, and you can go to my YouTube channel. And thank you to my subscribers. I appreciate you. We're about to hit 30,000 subscribers, so I appreciate the follows and the likes and the subscriptions. And it's going to be an interesting year. If you want to awaken to a year that's going to be very transformative, it's 2025, the year of the snake, the year of the nine. And I do want to say, for today's show, I want to talk about, I opened up the song with the Matrix, but I also want to talk about, there's a saying that I've seen before, I've heard before, and it's making me think about where we're at in our world, with consciousness, with people, with the divide. And I want to give you some things to think about how you come into this world, right? And by the way, for my subscribers, if you're a Diamond Sub subscriber or one of my Patreon prospectors, today is Diamond Day. So the first Friday of every month is a dedication to my subscribers. So if you have not got on that, that platform, you can go to right here down to marclainhart.com, which is right there, and go to the store, and you can get the subscriptions there. And I'll post those links a little bit later here when I'm doing live readings, to become a Patreon prospector or get into my Diamonds Hub. And then what happens is there's two links. There'll be one at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then another one at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you can't make the first one, there's always two options on the first Friday of every month dedicated just to my subscribers. You can't get to it unless you are a subscriber. You have to actually subscribe. The link is on the page. It's called Diamonds Day, first Friday every month. And it's a great way to just get messages for the week, get messages for the month. And it's a lot cheaper than booking a reading with me for an hour. So I am starting to book out. My calendar is open. And I've got a bunch of readings coming up, but just, to be in service, to help people, to inspire people, to get people, to help them with their grief. Maybe, we had two people we know away over the holidays. One person passed away on Christmas, and then my wife's grandfather, who had a long life, lived a long, healthy, awesome life, moved into the spirit world as well. And so, we're always dealing with something in our journey, and it's about how to have the tools to have the emotional intelligence to handle the things that are going on around you, to have those conscious conversations, if you will. I do have some stuff coming up here in the first quarter. I have an interview that I just did with Canvas Rebel. They featured me, so I'll be posting that on my social media pages if you want to check that out and see my story of even how I got to this point in my life, of what I do. And then I've got a masterclass coming up here at the end of January, and then something coming up in April. So you'll want to tune into those. We're going to be having some very conscious conversations. And of course, Inspired Living will be back next Wednesday with a new show. I think I'm the guest. I'm the host and the guest. I'm going to be talking about something very interesting. But here's something to think about. Again, we're always inches from chaos. We're this close to chaos on any given day. These are the things that we know, and think about the things we don't know. I worked for federal government for 23 plus years. I'm now officially retired, no longer work for the government, no longer would go back to the government. But I can tell you that on any given day, there is a war taking place. There is a war behind the war that we see, whether it's through social media or what the news cycle is telling us, their narrative, right? There's always a narrative and an agenda. I want you to remember that. And the wars that go on behind the wars, the cyber attacks, the special ops that we don't know about that are taking place in our country and other countries that are doing it to us. Those attacks that took place in New Orleans and Vegas, both one was active duty member, which is very surprising. Something changed with that narrative. And I know the media is saying they weren't related, but I find it very interesting. Same car company, rental car company, background in the Army and veteran. One was a veteran, one was still active duty special ops, which I find very interesting. But there are things that are going to become transparent in the year of the nine in 2025. And I want you to think about when you become a free thinker, and Einstein talked about this. Einstein had said, and this would have been back in the 90s, maybe. Einstein had talked about, let's see if I got the quote here. And like I said, I'm going to give you some tools and some things to think about that have really questioned my status quo. And some of you don't want your status quo change. You're happy just put your blinders on, stay in your lane. Ignorance is bliss. I get that. But at the same time, for those of you that are curious, like I am and have been for many, many years, to explore, to dream, to discover the diamond within and the many hidden gems that are all around us in this journey that we call life, Einstein talked about, he'd done an interview on NBC, and he said that we live in a society where the free thinking, open mind people are actually called crazy or conspiracy theorists. And those that are ignorant and closed mind and follow 100% belief, I call them sheeple. These are people that are sheep, that the sheep will follow the herd, and whoever is leading that herd, and that herd could be let off a cliff, and the sheep will follow off the cliff to their own demise. But when Einstein was talking about this is where I really started thinking about, we are just inches away from chaos, whether it's in society, whether it's in consciousness, whether it's in our spirituality, whether it's in life ourselves, right? I talked a couple of weeks ago on how many people leave this planet every single day on average. I did some research to it and was talking about it, shared it at a service I did a couple weeks ago, shared it with my development group. On average, there's about 150,000 people a day around the globe. That's why I'm wearing this shirt today. People in the globe. It's actually a Jack White shirt. Love Jack White. Probably couldn't show that. I don't know if I could. But this is his t-shirt, but I love it because it's the planet, right? It's the planet, it's our journey, and it's the journey that we do with people. And on a given day, there's 150,000 people that pass to the spirit world on average, right? That's just based on mortality rates. That has nothing to do with like pandemics or major natural events, like in the tsunami that killed 225,000 people back in 2004. Those wouldn't be the calculations. Those would actually up the average. But the average is 150,000 people per day on this planet do not continue their life today. And within that time frame, every hour, that's 6,300 people. And every minute, that's 105 people that have moved through whatever ailment or sickness or car accident or airplane crash. We've had a couple of those over the last couple of days. And it makes you wonder about your journey here. At least it does for me. It may not for you. Like you said, you have your blinders on, no judgment, no opinion on that. That's free will and choice, right? But for those of you that are awakening, for those of you that are choosing to think bigger, to think broader, you will be categorized by friends, family, and colleagues if you're a free thinker and you're open-minded. I'd rather have a mind open by wonder than a mind closed by belief, right? And, for me, being called crazy and ignorant, at first I took offense to it, and then I realized, well, maybe I think we are a little all crazy. Open-minded, that's fine. People are always going to be judgmental of you. I think it was it Plato that said the only way that we're not going to be judged or have opinions is to say nothing, be nothing, or do nothing, right? And that's not me. But when Einstein was talking about this, that we live in a society, not back then, that is in the 40s and 50s, right, of Einstein, even in the 30s. And you think about today's society, if you are a free thinking, open-minded individual, people will call you crazy or conspiracy theorists. And you just have to get some thick skin and, grow some thick skin to be able to take on those negative messages and energy. And then again, the people that are just, and who I'm talking about, you can see it, and you may have family or friends, I do, that are just, maybe choose to be ignorant or just were born ignorant and never had a push to educate themselves, and that's fine too. But just more closed-minded people, and they're the normal people, right? So as we are born into this society, think about how you're born into this. And I was just talking with my counselor about this. We are born from the minute that we incarnate, at least here in the United States. I'm not sure how other countries work. I can't speak to that. But here in the United States, we were born with a social security number. We are actually, so I want you to think of a barcode. You know how you scan the barcodes of food, or, when you're checking out, you scan that barcode. When we incarnate into the physical form, we have a barcode, per se, called a social security number. That social security number goes with you your entire life, right? And the social security number, you're given also the social security number, at least in the United States. Again, if somebody wants to comment on another country, I'd be curious to know your thoughts. You're given a name by your parents, and sometimes that name could be family tradition passed down. It could be a name based on their experiences. And then you're born into that learned behavior based on where you're born in the world. It could be based on religion. I was born into Catholicism. Based on being in the western part of the world. You could be born on the other side of the planet and be born into Hinduism or Judaism or Christianity or Buddhism, right? So just you're introduced with a barcode of your social security number, a name that you go by in life that people will call you, a religion if you are born into that type of religious indoctrination. You're also given a nationality, so I would be classified as an American. Based because I was born here in the United States. And then you also then have a race. So I'm a white male, right? And, you spend the rest of your life defending what I would call a fictional identity, to know thyself. I have a card right off camera here. I keep it here as a reminder. To know thyself, to know who I am, to know what I'm going after, what I believe in, what I stand for. And it says, self-observation, awakening, self-understanding, and enlightenment. Now, the thing about enlightenment is, if you ever reach that stage of enlightenment, which I'm nowhere close to, we always say that experiences and education lead us to knowledge. Knowledge leads us to thinking. Thinking leads us to wisdom. Wisdom is to know thyself, and to know thyself is the state of reaching that enlightenment. But even after you reach enlightenment, Buddha talked about all the time that you still got to go tend your garden. Enlightenment doesn't mean that's the end, and you've reached the top layer of that video game, right? But if you think about your journey, you're given a social security number, you're given a name, possibly a religion, a nationality, and a race based on where you're born in the world. And then you spend your time searching to identify who you are, a false identity. There was another thing that I wanted to talk about that we're born into on my notes here, if I can find it, about how religions divide us, politics divide us. But at the end of the day, we're all human. And I believe that 2025, even though we're inches from chaos, is going to remind us that we are all humans. We all have the same heart. We all have the same blood. We have the same organs. We function the same. We breathe the same air. But we are different based on our makeup, based on our nationality, based on our race, based on our sexuality, based on who we love. But at the end of the day, the beginning starts the same. We're all different, but the ending finishes the same for everybody. Death does not escape anybody. And I don't know if I still have it. I was looking for it. Sorry. You think I'd be more prepared, but I'm not. Just more coffee. It was a great reminder, and it talked about how we're classified based on our race, based on our religion, based on our politics, and they're all very dividing. They're all very they don't work with the energy of the earth, the energy of our species. If I come across it, I'll find it. I took a snapshot of it because I was like, oh, that's good. But when you have a lot of pictures. What is it right here? No, no. Oh well. Wasn't meant to be, I guess. But what this journey has taught me, and realizing, especially being with the experiences I've had, the sum of my experiences, We are inches from chaos. And when I started to do this work, and now I can do this work, write, podcast, consult, start to do more events. I've got a master class coming up. Like I said, go to marclainhart.com for all the information, or get on my subscribers list, either at YouTube, Patreon Prospectors, or Diamonds Hub, because those will all be announced through those outlets, through those platforms. Because I'm now retired. I'm officially retired because of all the surgeries I've had in the last 8 months. My knee, my back. I got one more to go. So I'm medically retired, and so my career after 23 plus years of working in some aspect of the federal government has now ended, and I'm starting this new chapter. And what that does is it reminds me to be the light that reminds others of the goodness that's still present in this world. Right? It's being a lighthouse. And I used to take care of lighthouses. My last duty station in the Coast Guard was actually taking care of lighthouses. So it's interesting that I talk about that, finding the diamond within, finding the hidden gems all around us, but being that light and the lighthouse in the darkness that helps people. Again, maybe you've had a near death, maybe you've lost somebody, you don't understand that the journey of grief, or the journey of depression, or the journey of anxiety, or PTSD, mental health. These things I have all experienced in my journey, and help people and share that with people, and bring that into awareness, because awareness is the greatest agent for change. But when you look at how we're born into a system, you think about, we're born into a system that is operated by cash, even though it's no longer really cash and check. It's pretty much debit. It's pretty much crypto. It's pretty much PayPal. It's pretty much Venmo. It's Zelle, Apple Cash. Everything has become more digitalized, right? But we still are in a cash system where we trade for commodity, trade for goods, trade for services, what have you. And I think one of the biggest scams that I started to realize in this journey, when you start to awaken, and remember, when you awaken, things are going to change because you're changing. You're changing at the cellular level, the mind level, the emotional level, the physical level. And one of the biggest scams that I realized in this journey, because it took me 50 plus years to realize it, is that we pay taxes on the money that we make, right? We're paying taxes on the money that we've actually earned. We've earned that money. And I believe in taxes. Don't get me wrong. Death and taxes are two things guaranteed in life, right? But taxes help others, right? It creates a support system. It creates an infrastructure. But then it gets worse, because not only are we paying taxes on the money you make, we're now paying taxes on the money we spend. So if I spend my money to buy gas to fill up my car, I'm now paying a road tax initiated by the state in which I'm living in. Every state's different. But now I'm paying taxes on the money that I'm spending, right? And so you're born into a system that has set you up to fail, right? And failure is okay. Failure is, I use fail as a good thing. First attempt in learning. That's what I use for my fail. So fail often, fail daily. But when you realize that you're born into a system, or a matrix, or a simulation where the cards are already stacked against you, right? I know lots of people that came out of college with huge debt, paying for these big, certificates. I always tell people, if you can, if you're coming up out of high school, I didn't have this wisdom. This was not given to me by my parents. My parents did not teach me emotional intelligence, didn't teach me constant conversation, didn't teach me to plan for my future. And that's fine. That's their journey. I'm not laying blame to them. But I had to find my own way. And I always tell people, if you can go to college on a scholarship, and whether it's academics or athletics, if you can join a service, whether it's our military branch, or a Peace Corps, or something that will give you a higher education and they pay for it, that is the secret of not going into debt. Because once you're in debt, you're trying to dig out of a hole that could be years in the making, decades. I know people that are still paying off their loans for college, and they've been out of college for 20 years, right? The interest that's applied to the money that you borrowed, right? So the cards are stacked against you when it comes to being incarnated into the physical form. And again, we're only ever inches away from chaos, whether it's in society, whether it's in our personal life. And when it comes to paying taxes, like I said, we're paying taxes on the money we make, we're paying taxes on the money we spend, and then we're paying taxes on things that you own, things that we own, that you already paid taxes on with the already taxed money. That's one of the biggest scams going on when you start to awaken in your journey of what you're paying for and the things. And then once you're in debt, that debt owns you. So the secret is to, if you want to get ahead, get out of debt, find ways to have other people pay for higher education. So for example, I went in the Coast Guard, spent 8 years in the Coast Guard. A lot of my service-connected injuries are from my days in the Coast Guard, because I spent years out on the big blue getting, on boats and surf and pounded and rolled over and rescue and all sorts of stuff. I'd do it all over again. But these service-connected injuries are now what has allowed me to retire to do this. But at the same time, we're born into a system that is stacked against us. So you have to find a way to find that diamond within, is what I'm getting at, because the diamond is created under extreme pressures. So pressures are actually good and not giving up. And that's what I was talking to my one of my mentors. I'd say he's a mentor. He's really helped me through some dark and stormy nights. Would I be the same person if I was born into a status of eliteness? If I was born into having money and wealth and everything catered to me? I came from very poor family. Don't have equity wealth, not money that's not passed on to generations, and really grew up really trying to make ends meet. You know, both my parents, they divorced, they went their own ways. They had to find their own financial way to help raise us kids, right? And we were talking, and it's like, would I be doing the work I do today? Would I be the person I am today if I had a different pathway? Everything was given to me on a silver platter. And I don't think I would, because I don't think when you're trying, you know, there's a song called Tough, and it's not what you want to do, it's what you're gonna do. That's the lyrics. Not what you want to do, it's what you're gonna do. And I don't know if I'd be the same person if everything was handed to me on a silver platter, right? Because survival helps you to grow, to become stronger, to overcome those hurdles, to know what failure is, the first attempt in learning. And when you are given everything, I don't know if you reach that level of consciousness or empathy or compassion, because everything is just given to you. So maybe you do come from money and maybe you are awakened. You know, that's just an assumption. But I think for my journey, I am why I do what I do to help others from a very deep empathic standpoint, is because my life has been very difficult from the day that I incarnated into physical form. And that's fine, because your journey is self-discovery. Again, to know thyself, who you are. You know, it's not going to be the friends that you hang out with. It's not going to be the parents that bring you up or your siblings. It's going to be you and your journey of why are you here? And, you know, after these medical appointments and medical surgeries I've had, I can now understand how the system works against people. You know, homelessness here in the United States is at like 18%. That's almost a quarter of the population is homeless. And I've been just researching and understanding, why are people homeless? Why do they not have means to survive? Well, one, we don't have universal health care. And I know out of the 33 modernized countries, 32 have universal health care. United States does not. We have a middleman. So I'm already paying taxes. I'm paying for a copay to an insurance company to get treatment. And I now can tell you, I have lived through the 2 surgeries that I've had in the last 9 months, both surgeries with all the costs, from morphine to surgical repair to the products that were put into me, the titanium in my back, the mesh in my knee. The total cost of those surgeries with insurance. Now I have insurance. I have good insurance. One being retired and then also part of the VA. But for those that don't have insurance, my 2 surgeries with everything was over $250,000 within the last 9 months. Now, for those that don't have insurance, there's no way they could pay $250,000. Now, I know universal healthcare has its quirks, it has its faults. I get that. But knowing that you wouldn't go bankrupt because you have universal, you know, I may have to wait, 6 months to get my surgery. I get that, pain and suffering. But to go into debt, $250,000, and you see the breakdown now. You see what they charge you. My crutches and my walker, my crutches were like $450, and insurance picked up, I don't know, $300, and I had to pay $60 for my crutches. My morphine, they gave me a shot of morphine when I first went into the ER for my knee. One morphine shot was $4,000. My anesthesia for both of my operations was over $10,000 just for the anesthesia to knock me out, right? And so you look at those prices, and again, this is where I'm coming back to my message today. We are always inches from chaos. And that is the number one reason that most people go bankrupt and become homeless, is because of medical costs. So the system that we're born into is broken. You are set up to fail. It's about how you're going to rise and overcome and prospect to find the diamond within, and not let the system, the matrix, the agents get you down. And you start to realize we are in a somewhat simulation matrix. Now, the age of 2025 that we're in now, that energy of 2025, the year of the 9, the year of the snake, I believe that this age in the roaring 20s that we're going through, we're halfway through our roaring 20s, and I did a lot of predictions, and I'm going to stay with those predictions, that we're going to learn that we're not alone in the universe, whether extra dimensional beings are here, have been here the whole time, are among us, or come from our oceans, or come from other planets and this big universe that we're not realizing how small we are. The James Webb just came out with some new data that makes us question the reality of our own universe, multidimensional. Think, if you start to think in terms of energy, frequency, vibration, you start to unlock the secrets of the universe. And so there's a movie that just got re-released that Christopher Nolan had done called Interstellar, and they talk about that. And this is called a tesseract. A tesseract is a fourth dimensional cube. And when you land somewhere on this fourth dimensional cube, we're in a three-dimensional state of mind. But we're realizing that the universe is actually probably more complex, like the tesseract, that has multiple energies, realities. And the James Webb, which I said years ago, like I said, you can go back and check my shows, my podcast. I talked about the secrets of Antarctica. I talked about the secrets of the James Webb. The James Webb is bringing data that scientists are just like, we don't understand the laws of physics. And they're changing how even the Big Bang, they thought it was 9 billion years of universe. It's actually over 13 billion based on looking back at the light when light first started. So there's just a lot of things that are going on. And in this age that we're in right now, in the 2025, I believe that the age of believing is over. We are in the age of knowing. And I think that's why we see so much chaos with what's going on. We see so much status quo being challenged. Again, whether it's in society or politics or war, we're seeing people say, you know what? We're not going to buy the narrative. We're awakening to something bigger than ourselves. And for some of you, that can be very scary. But I believe that we're in the age of knowing now. The 2025 completion, transformation, transparency, we'll still have our natural events. We'll still have human chaos, right? Governments playing war games with each other, or governments attacking each other. I would not be surprised in 2025 if we saw the beginning of World War III start to take place in Europe with Germany, Russia, France, England, eventually us, China, Taiwan. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't think it'll be a war of nuclear. We always think about World War III as the end of the world. I don't believe it'll be the end of the world because everybody knows that's a zero-sum game. But there's already war. The war has already begun. If you know some of the things that I know and I'm aware of and know here, the war has already begun. That's a cyber warfare. That's a resource warfare. That's a mind warfare. I'm going to give you a tool to look up here in just a second to Google, because there's a patent out there that goes back. I didn't know this was patent, and somebody had brought this to my attention. But the phrase inches away from chaos suggests that a situation is very close to becoming disordered or unmanageable. And at any time, I've always believed that the human journey is right there, the inches away from chaos. And it implies that our circumstances are precarious, and that a small trigger or an event could lead to a significant upheaval or instability. And I believe 2025 is going to be that year of instability, triggering events. We already saw them on New Year's. Again, I'm very surprised by that. My heart, my prayers, and my thoughts go out to everybody that was impacted from New Orleans to Las Vegas. But these are veterans. These are veterans that somehow got radicalized and have changed. And we're going to see more of that. I think they're called swarming. I can't remember the technical thing for it. But what happens is you can use this expression, inches away from chaos, from political situations, social dynamics, personal relationships. It's an expression used to know that the tension is high and things could quickly spiral out of control, right? It highlights the fragility, how life is very, very fragile. And a lot of us forget this. The fragility of the current state and the potential for rapid change if the right conditions arise. And I feel that 2025 is some of those right conditions for everything. Everything can change on a dime. I've learned that firsthand from my own experiences. And so when we're talking about inches away from chaos and people start to awaken, and people are not necessarily being what I call sheeple, following the herd because someone said something, you start to step outside that herd mentality. You start to think for yourself. Like Einstein said, being a free thinker and open-minded gets you labeled as crazy or conspiracy theory. But if you are ignorant and just love status quo, then you're normal, right? I would challenge you to challenge your own status quo, to start carpe diem, to seize the day, to find the diamond within and the many hidden gems that are all around us. And so, that chaos, that balance could be done at any moment. When I go to bed, I wake up with gratitude to say the world could have changed overnight. There could have been, dude, take your pick, super volcano, electrical. I just saw that Puerto Rico was down a couple days ago. They lost all of their electricity. That changes people's mindset. That changes, society and how people behave, right? So there could be a natural event. There could be an external event. There could be, this whole drone thing going on. I don't believe that they're all drones. I believe that the extra dimensionals, the UFOs, because I'm an experiencer. I had my own personal experience. Some of you have not. So you're like, oh, he's a conspiracy theory. He's got a tinfoil hat on. That's fine because I had my own experience. I know what I witnessed. I know what I felt. I know what I saw, and didn't talk about it for years. But now I can openly talk about it. And it's there's a book called Imminent that's out. I highly recommend you read that. These drones that are being seen on both sides of the United States and around the world. Yeah, that's new technology, but I don't believe that they're all drones. Some are stars, some are airplanes, some you can debunk. But why do UFOs have lights? Why do UAPs have lights? Why do they show us? Because they're showing us that they are observing us. They are watching us. They have been watching us for many, many generations. And I believe in the year of our decade of the Roaring 20s, we'll realize that we're not alone in the universe. And that can be quite transformative for some and quite scary as hell for others. And that's okay too. So I want you to Google this number. I don't know if I could, I can't do my screen share. Let me go over to Facebook Live here. Hold on. I want you to Google this number. This was given to me by somebody, and I found it very, very politics or war. Let me turn down the speaker here. And I'll put, if you want to get on my Patreon prospectors, like I said, just go to marclainhart.com. You get on my YouTube channel as a subscriber. Patreon prospectors, Diamond Hub, and then later this afternoon, we're going to be doing in about 45 minutes. I'm going to be opening up at 11:30 for my Diamonds Days, first Friday for my subscribers to come in and have a reading, guidance, meditation, healing, sound bath, whatever you're looking for, whatever you're prospecting for. And where was I? Okay, I'm going to put this in the comment section. So I'm over here on the Facebook page, and I want you to Google this patent. This is interesting to me. Google this. US 6506148-B2. Let me make sure I got this right. US 6506148-B2. All right. So I want you, let's put an avatar here. Look for my avatar, and it'll say Google this. I'm putting 2025. Look for that avatar, and then go do your research. Go prospecting for what this means. This was given to me about, it's no longer conspiracy theory for me. These drones, these extraterrestrial beings, the highlights that are taking place, the experts that are coming out. I'm talking scientists, professors at Harvard and Stanford. I'm talking 4-star generals, people high up in the intelligence committee at the Pentagon. They're all coming out as whistleblowers to say that we're not alone. And I would hope not. The universe is a very big space. But when you Google this US code, this US 6506148-B2, you'll be interesting to see that is a US patent for something that I'm not going to give away, that you have to go Google that, and you have to get on there. So hi Tara, good to see you. So I'm on the page now. Hi Lori. Well, that is crazy on surgery prices, isn't it? Good morning, Mom. Good morning, Sonia. Good morning to Elena. Hello, hello, hello. Good to see everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah. So again, if you start to think of your life, and again, what I'm saying about, inches away from chaos, this can be political turmoil, which we just witnessed here in the United States, a lot of political turmoil, a lot of political divide. In political context, it might refer to the government being on the brink of collapse, civil unrest, significant public dissatisfaction for its institutions. We're seeing all of that right now. And, small incidences like we saw on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, protests, political decisions, these can trigger widespread chaos. And I believe in just a few weeks here on the 20th, we're going to start to see more chaos. Our government knows that people are no longer buying the status quo, and they're awakening to this BS that we've all been living under based on how we're born into a system, caste system, identity system, tax system. And, I can see why, from my medical procedures, how people go bankrupt and go homeless. Because I'm like, how does 20% of the population in the United States, and I'm not even talking global, I'm just talking in the United States, which is probably even higher in third world countries that don't have a home, don't have clean water, can't take a shower, right? But how is it that 20% in the richest nation on the history of the earth has 20%, almost 20%, about 18% now, homeless people living in tents on the streets? How does that happen? People can say, oh, that's based on the politics, the party that's in charge. That's one small aspect of that. The big aspect is universal health care. Are we going to also have to have conversations about universal income? Because as AI, and there's some good things that are happening with AI. I know that we can go to the doom and gloom, but I think AI is going to be very revolutionary, just like the Industrial Revolution was for creating the steam engine, the automobile. AI is going to unlock doors to new technologies, new infrastructures, new ways of skill set, from healthcare to how transportation works, to science, to curing diseases that we just don't understand yet. AI is going to have a big role in 2025 and unleashing that. Robots are going to start to do our jobs. So as robots start to do our jobs, where do people find jobs? So universal income may have to have a conversation. Universal health care. Again, we're all born into this system as humans, but it's the politics that divide us. It's the status that gives us the status, whether we're born with money or not born with money, based on what race we're born into, right? We know how race wars have worked in our history, from the Black cultures to the indigenous cultures, going all the way back, right? And that's the history we know, but think about the history we don't know, right? So we're already born into classifications based on, social, based on political, based on how you look. And you realize that people become homeless because the systems in which we're in are failing. They're starting to corrode, and they've talked about that every empire, with the exception of the Roman Empire, about 250 years, and the empire starts to implode and crumble. We're right at 250. We're right there. We're right in that time frame, and when you have statuses, when you're born into statuses, like I said, a social security number, a race, a nationality, a religion, a caste system, a tax system, you realize that people become homeless because it's not just about politics, it's also about the social dynamics. It's about, in social setting, groups may experience friction due to different opinions. Keyboard warriors is what I call y'all, keyboard warriors. People get on social media and have an opinion about everything. I love it when I post something and I haven't heard from this person in years. Haven't heard from them, but then all of a sudden they pop up out of nowhere and they want to disagree with you. Keyboard warrior, right? So I've learned a lot in my evolution in the last 5 years through social media as well. And social media is crap. It's just it can serve a purpose. Like, my intention is to use the platforms for positivity, to inspire, to encourage, to motivate, to have, conscious conversations, to have unity through community. Of course, that's where I use my platforms, but not everybody uses that. And I just love when that one person you haven't heard from, and I'm sure you can resonate with what I'm saying. That one person pops up, you haven't talked to them in like 5 years, and they're like, I disagree with you, Mark, and here's why. Educate yourself. And it's like, really? That's where we're at in our society. But it's that social dynamics that is also creating that friction due to different opinions through a keyboard or through interest or unmet needs, right? That's the social dynamic. And when communications break down, and we're seeing that real time right now, or conflicts arise, the situation can quickly deteriorate into chaos. So again, inches away from chaos. Economic instability. Economic factors such as the stock market fluctuates, inflation, which we've all had to deal with from the COVID, right? A pandemic. And I believe in 2025, we're going to see another pandemic. We're going to see possibilities of a civil war, world war, another pandemic. Because again, one of the secrets I said of Antarctica is Antarctica starts to thaw and unlock that ice continent. It will introduce things that have been melted or been frozen in the ice for years, and introduce new things into our environment, right? I think we'll start to see our first Category 6 hurricane with the power that's taken place on the planet. I don't know what the wind speed would be, but we didn't always have a classification of 5 on hurricanes. It was classification of 3, became 4. Now we're at 5. So it's like the frog in the boiling water, right? The water is getting hotter and hotter and hotter, but we're just like, oh, well, we're just classifying that as a Category 6 hurricane. That's very horrific and terrible, right? If you think about it. But so again, political turmoil, social dynamics, economic instability, like the stock market, unemployment, that pandemic that we just went through, inflation. These are all things that can cause a sense of us as humans to have that instability, to have that insecurity. A minor economic shock could um, lead to a larger financial crisis, affecting many lives. I'm thinking of the housing crisis where people were buying houses, with not having to prove their income, right? We know how that turned out, right? The Great Recession. Personal relationships, in personal relationships, unresolved conflicts or misunderstandings can create tension within the relationship. If it's not addressed and transparent and communicated, these issues might lead to a significant fallout or separation or divorce or breakups or estrangement based on your relationships. The environmental factors of being inches away from chaos. And I think the environmental factors are going to play a big part in 2025. And I'll be writing about this and putting the article out later in the month. But it discusses about our climate change. And I know people are like, well, climate change isn't real. And climate change is real. People would question, is it created by the human species or is it just a natural cycle of the earth? I think it's a combination of both, based on the research that I've done and looked into, the science of it, right? Because science is, whether you agree with science or not, it's the truth of the time. It's there to tell you the truth, whether you agree with it or not. It's still the truth of science, right? And science is always going to be changing as we change, as our environment changes, as our understanding and consciousness change. But as of science right now, we know that the earth is changing, and those environmental factors could definitely be inches away from chaos. If you think about it, natural disasters, those fires, the water rising, like I said, Category 6 hurricanes, small changes, just even a degree going up or down in environmental conditions can lead to catastrophic events, and that's what we have to be aware of. Because as of my knowledge, I know that there's other planets out there that can sustain life, but we can't get to it from our current means of understanding technology and means of travel, unless we figure out how to bend space and time and Einstein's wormholes and Einstein-Rosen wormholes. But these right now is the only planet we have, and so why are we not taking care? Why are we not being better stewards of taking care of our planet, especially for the generations that come behind us? Right? I'm lucky to be in this time frame, but I'm also thankful to my ancestors that at least were mindful and respectful of their environment to have an environment for me to live in. I'm not sure the kids that haven't been born yet are going to have a sustainable environment to live in. And if it is chaos, I'm sure, as we know from history, that we will survive, and adapt. It's not what you want to do; it's what you're gonna do. That's the word tough. But in these situations, this phrase for today's show, I think it underscores the importance of awareness. Awareness is the greatest agent for change. And I think any kind of, instead of being knee-jerk reaction, waiting for the action to take place, and I saw a lot of this in the government. Everything was so political and chaotic and slow, and everything was knee-jerk reaction. It was never proactive. It was always reactive, and it just never made sense to me to be reactive if you're trying to prevent chaos. And we saw a lot of chaos in what I did at the facilities, the reports that would go, the politics between the senators and Capitol Hill and going out to the public, and the editing, the re-editing, editing. So I was a part of that for 23 plus years in different aspects. And no wonder people don't trust or believe in the federal institutions anymore, because they don't work. They're too, even themselves, the Supreme Court at the highest levels is very dysfunctional and divided and not working. And so when we know that things aren't working, things implode, the phoenix rises, and things are built again, right? Just like in the Matrix, it was destroyed 7 times and rebuilt 7 times. But if you're being in a more of awareness mindset, and this is for you today, and you're in a proactive way of being, and a proactive way that measures a way to prevent chaos, just keep that in your mind, that we're only inches ever away from chaos on all those subjects I just talked about: political turmoil, social dynamics, economic instability, personal relationships, environmental factors, right? And I believe it's a warning in 2025, the year of the snake, the year of the 9, to be vigilant, to have communications, both conscious conversations and emotional intelligence on how you're having your conversations. I think that's going to be very important, especially with the evolution of social media that's only going to continue to get bigger. Quantum computing is out; those are coming out. But also be aware of conflict resolution. To know that your opinion, when somebody says, Mark, how do you know so much? I always remind them, I don't know really anything. Socrates talked about the person that claims to know everything knows nothing at all. And therefore, I don't really know anything, but I have a lot of life experiences. And one of the things that I've learned is conflict resolution is crucial to maintaining stability and order. And that's called negotiation. That's called compromise. That means that I may have an opinion about something, but that doesn't mean that my opinion is 100% right. That's my perspective. That's my experience. And being compassionate and empathic and being civil to somebody else's perspective. And if humans can meet that threshold of communications and transparency and conflict resolution and emotional intelligence and conscious conversations, the world is going to be a much better place, a much more peaceful place, a much more healthier place, a much more dynamic, inspiring place to be. 2025 is going to reveal that to us. It's the year of the completion. It's the year of the snake. It's the year of transparency. It's the year of transformation. And, like I said, we are only ever inches away from chaos. And if you can remember that, don't live in fear. I'm not trying to promote doom and gloom here with what I do. And I know that there's a lot of psychics out there, professional psychics, that, it's the end of the world and World War III. Those are going to happen regardless. My shows are for you. They're created and tailored to help you prospect for who you are, that diamond within, who we are as a people on this planet, to give you different narratives and different storytelling and different ideas of what may align to your way of being. And maybe it doesn't align now, but a year from now, it may align perfectly because you're like, Mark, I never had that experience until you talked about it. And then I had this awareness and it happened and it changed. And it changes you. It changes your auric field. It changes your energy. It changes the relationships around you, your friends, your family, your careers, right? It changes everything. And, like I said, there's more aspects I could get into from the psychology and human behavior of being inches away from chaos, crisis management, social movements that we'll experience in 2025, global issues that we're going to continue to see. I believe that technology and cybersecurity are going to play a big role this year. But it's just, even though it sounds precarious in that fear, and again, I use fear as an acronym, face everything and rise, or false evidence appearing real. Those things will happen in 2025 moving forward. The doom and gloom, the fear, everything that the media is going to sensationalize and sell you on, that will take place. I'm hoping in 2025 that you find a journey to prospect, to understand who you truly are. Maybe it's to heal. Maybe it's to do something different that you've always wanted to do. I always say, dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live, and discover the diamond within. And I believe for a lot of you, that can be 2025, the year of the snake, the year of wisdom, the year of, being proactive to navigate the potential crisis that we're all going to see and to maintain order in an unpredictable world. We are in an unpredictable world. And that's where, when I use my intuition, when I use my psychic or my mediumship, that's where I try to come from. When I first started out professionally, I was caught up in the sensationalized of doom and gloom, and I'll sell this, like, this actor is going to get divorced from this actor, or this movie is going to do such and such. Really, that to me is no longer really important to, what I'm doing with my work and what I'm podcasting about and writing about. So I hope that resonates with you today. It's a good reminder just to remember that your life is today. There is no guaranteed tomorrow, and you can't do anything about yesterday. And there's that old saying, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, today is the gift. That's why we call it the present. And it just really resonates, and I remember that. But Google what I put in the chat board, Google US 6506148-B2. See where it takes you. Do some research on that. It's interesting. It's fascinating. There's a bigger game at hand. When you're born into a system, when you're born into a simulation, when you're born into the matrix, unplugging from the matrix is not easy. But once you do, you start to realize the fallacies that we operate in. Like I said, social security number, nationality, religion, politics, taxes, caste system, being in debt. I hope you can find in 2025 a way to get out of that, a way to find the diamond within, but also discover the many hidden gems that are all around us in our planet, our universe, and what happens after we leave and what we call death, because death is not the end. Death is just another journey, a beautiful journey that leads us in our soul progression. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that helps. Let me get over to the page, see who we have hanging out with us today. I'm going to go ahead and open up the reading room and do a few readings here live if you want. I'll get to the Facebook page. Let me get to the Zoom link. Hold on. If you want to come in the Zoom room, you can come in live. I just need to get the link over there. I just ask that you, if you do come into the Zoom room, turn your volume down so I don't hear myself talking. You can call my business line here in Seattle. I did bring my phone. I'm going to go till right about 20 minutes, 25 minutes till 11:30, and then I have to get off this platform because I then open up the Zoom room for my subscribers, my Diamond subscribers and my Patreon prospectors. Again, first Friday of every month, Diamonds Days, great way to come in, have a chat, Q&A, breath work, meditation work, intuition, psychic reading, mediumship. You just never know. So I'll put 2025 again. Why not? That's the Zoom link. And I'll put the business line. All right. So Zoom link is there. If you want to come in, reading room is open. If you want to call, you can call. That's fine too. You can also put a comment in the comments section. I'll try to get to everybody if I can. I'm looking for my moderators and admins and my subscribers and people that have badges next to their name. That's usually who I work with or prefer to work with first in the queue, because I know that you're following my journey, and I appreciate all of my top fans and followers for the work I do. Let's see here. We'll do good morning. 206-588-0661. That is my line here that will ring right directly to this. You can come on speaker so people can hear you. Or post a comment in the comment section. Maybe you want a deck today, maybe you want a book reading, maybe you just have a question, you want some guidance on that, or you want to go prospecting. Do I know everything? Heck no. Like I said, I know nothing at all, but my experiences and my education can usually get to some sort of outcome, or if I don't know, I can refer you to somebody that will know or can help you on your journey. And again, there's many aspects of our journey. So the number's out there. The Zoom room's open. If you have a comment, a question, go ahead and post that in the comment section. And again, thank you to my team for always being here to make this a positive place to be, a unity through community, encouragement, motivation, inspiration. That's my journey now until I go to my next journey. And I hope that you'll join me here on Fridays for Metaphysical Meetup with Marc live. Over on my YouTube channel, again, we're about to hit 30,000 subscribers, so thank you for the follows and the subscriptions. My podcast, Inspired Living, you can get that wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Next Friday, we'll be back with the first show of the year. And then I hope, now that hopefully my surgeries are done, and I have maybe one more, but I can start to do some tips through positive living. And what positive living is, you can actually ask to open, I'm pointing off like you know what I'm talking about. I got Alexa right off camera here. But I had to change her name to computer, because every time I'd say Alexa, she would come on and then start to talk. So you can ask Alexa or an Echo Pod, just say, Alexa, open up Inspired Living Podcast, and that will play the latest episode through your Alexa or through Audible or Echo. Or you can say, open up Positive Living Tips, and there's some tips that I've recorded. I didn't do any this year because of my surgeries, but I'm hoping to get in the studio, record new tips for the journey ahead. So you can use your Alexa to get spiritual tips, positive living, or podcast Inspired Living. And again, you can get Inspired Living wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. We are now ranked by FeedSpot as a best inspirational and best spiritual podcast to follow in 2025. Our season 9, we're going into the year of the 9. It's my season 9 of being on a host of Inspired Living. And I hope that you'll join us for the shows ahead in 2025. So good morning. I'll start just calling out people's names. The reading room is open. Zoom link is out there. You just go up in the comment section. The phone number is out there. If you want to learn more about me and the events coming up, go to marclainhart.com. So Stilawa, I'm not sure if I'm saying your name. Hi, Sonia. Good morning, Colleen. Yeah, it is scary on the surgery prices. When you see it broken down, you're like, really? $500 for crutches, $4,000 for a morphine shot, $10,000 for anesthesia twice, for both my surgeries, because you have to knock you out, right? But it's just amazing when you see that breakdown, because one of the laws now is the insurance companies have to legally break down the pricing. So you're seeing all the costs. And like I said, I added up both surgeries. That's well over $250,000, $250,000. I don't have that to pay. And, I have insurance. I pay for insurance, but there's a lot of people that can't pay. And that's why we have such a homeless, almost 20% of the United States is now homeless. That's sad. That's not sustainable. Just put it that way. I mean, you don't need to be a psychic to know that that is not sustainable and that things will have to come to a head and transform and change. So, all right. Alma, hola. Hola, mi amigo. Or amiga. I don't know. Amigo, amiga. ¿Cómo está? ¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué pasa? Tara, hi, my friend. Thanks for being a subscriber. I'd love a book reading, please. You got it. Alma says, can I get a career psychic reading? I'm in the Zoom room now. I don't see you in the Zoom room, my friend. I'll get a notification. I don't see you in the Zoom room. But let me start with Tara. Let me get to this. We got about 15 minutes before I have to cut over to my subscribers over on it'll be on the Zoom platform, but it's you can only get to it through the page. You have to be a subscriber to get to that link. That starts at 11:30 Diamonds Days, first Friday of every month. So you want a book reading. Okay, Tara. Let's go to, well, I'm gonna change a different book. I love this book, The Art of Living by Thich Nhat Hanh. I followed a lot of his work in my days. Amiga, okay. Hola, amiga. ¿Cómo está? So Tara, tell me what page. I'll give you a clue. You can pick between page 2 and page 206. So pick a page number between 2 and 206 for this book specifically. I have different books, but I just was drawn to this book. And then Alma, my friend, I don't see you in the, so you have to click on the Zoom link, and the passcode is always based on the year. So I don't think it asks you for a passcode. It might, but I don't see you in the waiting room, my friend. So if you want to come in, and then Lori, we'll get you on deck. So we've got Tara, Alma, and Lori in the reading room right now. Alma's going to come into the Zoom room maybe, and Tara wants page 123. All right, let's see what 123 has to say for us today. We'll go to 123. So here's for the analytical mind, page 123 for you. Zoom link not working. Alma, you have to have the Zoom link. We tested this last week, just so you know. You have to have it downloaded either on your phone or your desktop. Otherwise, it's not going to work because you don't have the application, the driver to come into Zoom. But we tested it last week. It is working. The link is working. So, all right. So this is for Tara, page 123. This is what it says: facing silent fears. Often the joy of knowing that we are still alive contains within it the deep fear that we don't want to face, our fear of dying. Although we don't want to admit or think about it, deep down in our hearts, we know that one day we will die. Again, goes back to 150,000 per day around the globe, 6,300 per hour, 105 per minute, right? There is those stats. I think about death all the time. I think about my own. I've had an NDE. I've watched people move in the spirit world, been with them when they move in the spirit world. So I think about death and dying all the time. And I'm actually quite fascinated by it. Not scared of it, fascinated by it, because I know that there is another side of this that we don't see. But it says the day will come when we will be laid out, our bodies stiff. We will no longer be able to breathe. We will no longer be able to think, and we will no longer have any emotions or feelings, and our body will begin to decompose. We may be uneasy every time we think about death. We may have a tendency to brush it aside. We may be in denial. This fear may be silently haunting us, driving our thoughts, words, and actions without us knowing it. Maintaining awareness in our daily life of our 8 different bodies helps us transform our deeply rooted fear of dying. We see that our physical body is just a teeny part of who we are, and we see all the many ways in which we are being contained. We should not be in denial about our physical body's impermanence. Keeping this awareness alive in our daily life can help us see clearly how to make good use of a time we still have. The Buddha taught the 5 remembrances. So look up the 5 remembrances by Buddha, just to help you out. A contemplation to recite at the end of every day, as an exercise to lessen our fear of death and remind us of the preciousness of life. So Tara, for you, you picked 123, and here's the practice, the 5 remembrances laid out by Buddha. You may like to take a moment to read these lines very slowly with a pause to follow your breathing and relax between each remembrance. So the first one, breath. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. Second one, breath. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape ill health. Number 3, deep breath. These are called the 5 remembrances. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. Number 4, all that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature to change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. And then number 5 of the 5 remembrances as laid out by Buddha. My actions are my only true belongings. I cannot escape the consequences of my actions. They are ground upon which I stand. So there you go. Page 124, which carries over from page 123. So Tara, does that make sense? Probably not what you were expecting when you picked that number, but you picked that number. And that's the importance of free will, choice, following your intuition, listening to that inner voice, right? These are all things that we have the tools to use and to be able to download and access that wisdom, that ancient wisdom. So, and death is definitely one of them. It's a good reminder for me, the 5 as laid out by the Buddha. So thank you, Tara. Thank you for the follow. Thank you for being a subscriber. I appreciate you. Okay, so I see Alma is in the waiting room. Give me 1 second here. Lori, while I'm bringing Alma into the waiting room, can you pick the card deck? Let me move my instrument here. I've got 14 decks ready to go. You tell me what deck number you want. I'll pick that deck, and then you get ready to set your intention. I'll go through the deck. You tell me when to stop. We'll talk about that card. So let's get Alma into the waiting room here. I'm glad she could figure that out. Ask her to unmute. If you want to come on video, it always helps to see your beautiful smile and your beautiful auric field and your beautiful face, Alma. Alma, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you see me?
I can see you. How are you, my friend?
I am doing fabulous. Happy New Year to everyone.
Yeah, Happy New Year. I couldn't remember if it was Amiga or Amigo. You just see the names. I can't ever remember. So
That's okay.
Happy New Year. What's going on?
Well, a lot is going on, which is why I was thinking, I need to reach out to Marc and I need to find out which way I need to go. There's been a couple of opportunities that have opened up for me career-wise. A lot of it is entrepreneurship, stuff that I've never done before. So I kind of just want to see what the universe is telling me to do in terms of which road do I take.
Yeah. Well, let me start off first with a stat, and I think this will give you some perspective. Because you had mentioned entrepreneurship, right? I just recently retired after working for the man for 23 years. Always had a boss to report to. There's always a hierarchy, right? Mm-hmm. But here's a stat that may help influence your decision making where you want to go. Some of the richest people in the world are 75% entrepreneurs. Okay, 75% are entrepreneurs. 15% are investors. 7% are athletes. So if you think about all the athletes in every sport, right, that's only 7%.
Wow.
3% are artists. So I'm thinking like Bamke, the artist that nobody really knows, but that 3%, has a following of making wealth. But 0% employees actually are rich. So when you break the stats down, 75% is based on entrepreneurship. For me, that's easy. Go entrepreneurship. Now, what you're going to lack is maybe confidence. You may lack taking that leap of faith. You may lack in your mind the ego I don't have the experience or I don't have the know-how. But some of the best things you can do is that journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And my mantra has always been, believe it, see it, achieve it. And if you don't risk it, there'll never be the biscuit. So that's where I would direct you to go, whatever that entrepreneurship is. And many entrepreneurs fail, but I'm thinking of Thomas Edison. He failed 10,000 times, but it just takes that one light bulb to work after that 10,000 times. So if you're going to go down the entrepreneurship track, just know that you're going to be failed first attempt in learning, but it's being consistent and showing up every day to be that entrepreneur for what you want. And second, you don't have to work for the boss because you are the boss. And The second point is you're getting paid to do what you love. That is the secret of life, because we're the only species that pays to live here. So we might as well be doing what we love versus going to a cold corporate or government job that just is it's soul draining. It's soul sucking. I can reflect back on it now that I'm retired and be like, God, that just sucked my soul. It just drained me. So that's what I would say for you, Mama, is to, stick with it too. Trust your intuition, trust how you're feeling about it, and then take a leap of faith and take action, because a daydream stays up here. It's the action that you take to manifest. And I'll be doing a masterclass on manifestation in February. When you manifest into your reality, that's where things really start to change. But you have to take that action. Otherwise, it just stays up here as a daydream. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does. And you know what? I'm really glad that you talked about that manifestation in February, because that's something that I have been working on for the past couple of months. And I'm going to make that my priority, to learn how to manifest things to work in for my higher good. So 2025 is the year of the Alma, is what I'm calling it.
Love it. And it's the year of completion. So it's about transformation. It's about bringing things to completion. So this would be a great time to launch something. And it's also the year of the snake, which is based on, wisdom. It's based on knowledge, so why not? Why not? And if not now, when, right? That's this. There's very much power in that. If not now, when? And I hope that you do it. I hope that you take that leap of faith. But just in your mind, just give yourself patience and grace, because there will be failures along the way, but just anticipate that. And if you already know that you're going to fail, you're just learning the process. A lawyer doesn't become a lawyer overnight. A doctor doesn't become a doctor overnight. I don't become what I've become overnight. These are years of development and mentorship and education and failure to be able to give you that information that you just asked for, right?
Right.
So I hope that makes sense. So was the link not working because you didn't have the Zoom downloaded, or why? Okay. Because I'm like, we did this last week, and somebody was saying, I can't get in. I'm like, I try to make it as seamless and easy as possible to get in to talk with me. So it's usually the person doesn't have the app on their phone or their desktop computer. So you just have to download the Zoom. You click in, and now the passcode is always the year. So it's 2025. So but I hope that makes sense. So take good notes, lots of breath work, go do it. Believe it, see it, achieve it.
Yes. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Happy New Year.
Thanks, you as well.
Great. Take care. Okay, so thank you to Alma for coming in and sharing that. Okay, so Lori, number 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, hold on. So I got one of my spiritual decks here. So Lori, go ahead and take a deep breath. Hi, Gina. Good to see you. Tara goes, no, I was not expecting that. That makes 100% 100% sense. Thank you so much. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that either. But I talk about death and dying all the time. So Lori, go ahead and take a deep breath. When you hear the word stop, type stop on the keyboard, hit enter, and that's the card that I'll pick as I'm shuffling through the decks, because it's based on your intuition and your free will and your choice. And then I can probably do one more reading, and then I have to get off just before 11:30 my time, because it's Diamond Days for my subscribers. So I have to get over on the Zoom platform for them to come in and do some prospecting with me. So Patreon prospectors or Diamonds Hub, you can go to marclainhart.com. During the show or after the show, I'll put the links in, or just go to marclainhart.com. That's the best way to get to it. So Lori, whenever you're ready, Happy New Year to you as well, my friend. And I'll do one more reading. If somebody has a request, I'll do one more. I got time for one more after Lori types in stop for the card that she wants. And this is a cool deck. This is a spiritual deck I brought from England. One of my colleagues got it to me. So I'll give you about 10 more seconds, Lori. You know how this works. That way I know that you're interacting with the show and you haven't left. I'll give you about 15 seconds to type in stop. Stop. Thank you, my friend. All right. So here's your card today. This is for Lori. Thanks for being a follower and a subscriber. The Whisper on the Breeze. Now this is a bird magpie that's very prevalent over in the UK. The feather is interesting because the feather represents hope, right? Birds of a feather, right? And then the notion associated with it is the 3 energy. So this is the 3 energy talks about creative, expressive energy, but this is what the card says: the whisper on the breeze. Be still and hear the whisper on the breeze. This card tells you that to quote, to listen, end quote, is the key. To listen, right? Be aware of the presence of God, whoever or whatever God is for you, manifesting through all nature. There is a poem in which begins, quote, God speaks to us in bird and song, in winds that drift the clouds along. A melody of love, someone speaks to you, and it could change your life if you are truly listening. Experience the joy of individual inspiration and ideas produced by cooperating with others. Take time to consider the supportive opinions of others. The numbers 1 plus 2 produce the number 3, like I said, as in man plus woman produces child, or body, mind, spirit, the Holy Trinity, you could say that too. This natural equation works in all things. You have the God force within you, therefore you have the ability to be creative, cooperation with the force of universal natural law, and the power of the individual soul, urging you to bring about creation in a natural way, not forced by an attitude of I want or I am right, but the positive thoughts emanate creativity, like the intelligence of the trees which shed their leaves in the autumn. Let go of any non-constructive thoughts or feeling which are past their sell-by date in your life. Allow nature to bring forth new growth. So pay attention to the feather, the magpie, the number 3, whisper on the breeze. That's a cool card, actually. I may use that for one of my upcoming services. So Lori, and that's the other thing that I love about what I do is, there's a lot of things that we don't see that we know we have to have, right? We know that wind exists because we can see the effects of the wind as it moves the leaves, as the trees shed their leaves, right? And in the spring they return, but we don't see the wind with our physical eye. We know that gravity, even though hypothetical, exists because if I jump off of a diving board, I'm going to land in the pool 100%. And if I'm not, or if you don't, I want to hear about it because that means something else as fantastic has unfolded. And we know that we need air to breathe, but we don't see that air, right? We take that for granted. The air is not seen by the human eye, but we know that we need it. And if I don't get it, the body's like, I need air, right? So those are the 3 things that they're talking about within that card, the universal law. But nature, when people ask me, Mark, you're spiritualist, are you religious? I'm not religious. I'm spiritual, and my church is nature. Nature is the symbiotic creation and drive that holds us all. Nature, we're all impacted by nature. So does that make sense? Again, the whisper on the breeze. Maybe look that up for that poem. That's a really cool card. So I haven't pulled that one in a long time, so that's a great message for you. All right. So any other messages? I got 5 minutes. Last call, last call. Let me cue up a song. I'll put the links after I'm done with my Diamonds Day subscribers. Again, just go to marclainhart.com or scroll to the top. There's a link there. I'd love to work with you. Let's see here. Sound collection. I'm gonna get a song here going for us. Let's close it up with something that's fun. Try to get these new songs. Cyber stuff. Run. Patio Cat. Sweet Like Sugar. I wonder what that one's like. Half cool. Sweet Like Sugar. My Life. American Beauty. Sunny Days. We Are Free. All right, last call, last call. You're welcome, Lori. All right. All right, so I got the song picked. We're gonna go with Let's Go by Giulio Cercato. So we're gonna play that song. All right, 3 minutes. You can call me, zoom in. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to pull the plug here. So last call, last call. Thank you, my team. Happy New Year to all of you. Thank you for my top fans, my followers, my subscribers. I really appreciate it. And there's going to be more to come in 2025 now that I have more time to focus on what I truly love. And that's being in service and helping others and teaching and podcasting and writing. And I look forward to this year and hopefully be done with most of my surgery. I got one more surgery to go through, I think, but I think for the most part, I'm on the recovery side, the rehab side of life. So I appreciate all of you. Thanks for tuning in today. I'll just leave you with my tagline and we'll close with the song. Until our next soul adventure together, be kind, be caring, be compassionate. Most importantly, wherever you're at in the world, whatever you're doing, have that mantra like I was telling Alma. Believe it, see it, achieve it. But most importantly, dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live and discover that diamond within, and also start to discover the many hidden gems that are all around us in life. So Carpe Diem, seize the day. Namaste. Namago. Take care. Bye-bye.
offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Marc Lainhart, the intuitive prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Marc's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live. For more information on Marc's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marclainhart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.